wisdom,
prudentia,
justice,
justitia,
temperance,
temperantia,
courage.
fortitudo.
Applying ancient philosophy to modern life, this is the Sunday Stoic.
He who desires to be happy must pursue and practice temperance and run away from intemperance as fast as his legs will carry him. Expressed by Socrates in Plato's Gorgias. Welcome to the Sunday Stoic Podcast. This is a podcast where we explore the ancient philosophy of Stoicism and how it can be applied to modern life. I'm Dan from Queens, New York City, and I'm joined today by none other than Steve.
Hi.
Steve, how was school today?
Well, I drove for 40 minutes to get there in the ice because I was so excited, and I was the only person who showed up to school today because they had canceled, and I didn't know. But it was good because then I came home.
Well, I'm glad that you got through all that snow and ice safely.
Yes, I did. And my son was home as well, so we had a big day of hanging out in the house, watching it snow, and it was pretty darn cold out, so we didn't do a whole lot of playing outside today.
Well, there's always tomorrow or Saturday.
That's right. It's a long weekend. We have Martin Luther King Jr. Day on Monday, so we'll have
Perfect snow fort opportunity.
school tomorrow and then a couple days off, so it'd be great.
Nice. Okay, well, in the last episode, Steve and I discussed the fact that happiness is a welcome byproduct of living well. And the way a human lives well is to live according to nature, which is the same thing as living virtuously. And to live virtuously is to fulfill our nature as rational and social animals. Virtue is divided into 4 headings, often called the 4 cardinal virtues. The list includes practical wisdom, justice, courage, and self-discipline. The ancient Stoics viewed virtue to be unitary, but they subdivided it into these 4 headings for the purpose of being able to teach and discuss virtue in an intelligible manner. Today, Steve and I will begin a series on the 4 cardinal virtues. We will start with self-discipline, which is also translated as self-control or temperance. I favor the term temperance over self-control and self-discipline because self-control and self-discipline have connotations that you are depriving yourself of something through gritted teeth, that you would rather be doing something else, but through force of will you are going to do the right thing. Maybe that is the starting point for the virtue, but over time, as you habituate yourself and your values and dispositions change, you will have to exert yourself far less. Eventually, doing the temperate thing is just who you are and is not something that requires the exertion of willpower. Steve, where do you fall on the choice of translation? Do you favor temperance or one of the other terms?
I'm a temperance guy. If I want to really go deep, I go to the Latin temperantia. But it's all about just it's almost like the governor. An engine can have a governor on it to prevent it from revving up too high. It's kind of the governor of life. It keeps you sort of like the golden mean. It keeps you where you want to be from excess. Keeps you away from excess, but also keeps you motivated and going at the same time.
I concur. And we're starting with temperance because it is often considered foundational to the cultivation of virtue, because we have the opportunity to develop temperance every day, multiple times per day, most obviously each time we eat. Virtue is a kind of knowledge, but it's knowledge that is only developed through practical exercise in the real world. It's not merely something that you read in books or contemplate, it has to be applied. In the matter of temperance and self-control, is it not much better to be self-controlled and temperate in all one's actions than to be able to say what one ought to do? Musonius Rufus, Lecture 5.
Musonius is a big fan of don't just learn things for knowledge's sake. If you can't apply it, you don't know it.
It's also a lot of fun to read because unlike a lot of the other Stoics, he's very concrete. Like he'll give you advice about what kind of sandals you should wear, what kind of toga you should be wearing, what your
cut your hair.
Yeah, your beard style and your hairstyle.
Yeah. He's a very practical guy, and it's good we have a few of his fragments still in existence as well. Should I do a reading from Seneca, the richest Stoic?
Absolutely. Well, was he richer than Marcus Aurelius?
That's a good question. as emperor, I guess you might have access to a lot of wealth.
I would imagine.
Yeah, but I know Seneca, at least as a non-emperor, was probably the richest Stoic anyway.
Yes, he was a senatorial rank, and he was rich enough that it gave Nero pause and made him, jealous of Seneca in some ways, which is why Seneca had to divest himself of his wealth eventually.
Yeah, but it didn't work out for him too well in the end anyway.
No, it didn't. People were saying that Seneca was part of the conspiracy to kill Nero and overthrow him. So, didn't in the long run, being around Nero didn't work out for Seneca.
It did not. It did not. So be careful who you surround yourself with. But what we're going to hear now is a letter from Seneca to Lucilius, and it speaks a bit about temperance and the importance of self-control, as it were. Moral Letters to Lucilius by Seneca, number 71. Why do you marvel if it helps a man, and on occasion even pleases him, to be burned, wounded, slain, or bound in prison? To a luxurious man, a simple life is a penalty. To a lazy man, work is punishment. The dandy pities the diligent man. To the slothful, studies are torture. Similarly, we regard those things with respect to which we are all infirm of disposition as hard and beyond endurance, forgetting what a torment it is to many men to abstain from wine, or to be routed from their beds at the break of day. These actions are not essentially difficult. It is we ourselves who are soft and flabby. We must pass judgment concerning great matters with greatness of soul. Otherwise, that which is really our fault will seem to be their fault. So it is that certain objects which are perfectly straight, when sunk in water, appear to the onlooker as bent or broken off. It matters not only what you see, but with what eyes you see it. Our souls are too dull of vision to perceive the truth. So, in that reading, to me, he's saying we let ourselves go, and then things that ought not be so difficult seem like a challenge because we're used to just taking the easy path. And we have to undergo, as Epictetus might say, some winter training to improve our control. Because another thing I like about this is he says, to many, getting up early is a form of punishment. And Marcus Aurelius says the same thing. He says, when you're laying in bed under the covers, ask yourself, why do you exist? Is it to lay under the covers or to do the work of a human? And these are the kinds of questions you can ask yourself. Why do I want to eat this extra slice of pizza? Why do I want to lay in bed? Is it a good thing? Is it promoting virtue? Or is it just because I'm kind of lazy? What do you say, Dan?
I agree 100%. It is nice to just relax and lay in bed, but everything has to be done only to a certain extent. Once you go beyond that measure, you have to sleep, but if you sleep too much, you're not fulfilling your roles as a human being and not doing the work you're supposed to do. So you got to get your lazy butt out of bed and do what you got to do.
Yeah, and he also says something that reminds me of Epictetus here too, that a board in the water will appear bent, kind of like when I actually taught this in science the other day, how a straw in a clear glass will appear bent because of the bending of light waves as it hits the water. But he's saying it's not what you're looking at, it's the eyes with which you're looking at it. So to one person, getting up, going for a jog, and then doing something useful or productive or helpful to the world, to them is a great thing. It's how they live their day. It's what makes them thrive. And to somebody else, they try to do the same thing, and it'd be the most torturous, arduous task known to man. Is that they drag themselves through it and hate every second of it. They're seeing it from different eyes, with different eyes. It's all about their self-control, their attitude, the way they view the world.
Yeah, their habituation. It's the same act, but for one person it's torture, and the other person it's just how they are, what they do.
Yeah, and Epictetus will often say the same thing. If you're facing some hardship, ask yourself, well, how did someone else handle this? Or how did they feel about it? And you'll see, oh, they survived it. I can survive it too. And that sort of a thing. So the Stoics rely on that kind of an idea quite often. Think about how your heroes might have handled it, or what they would have done. What would Jesus do, or what would Socrates do, or pick your hero or your who you're following and say, how would they handle this situation? How does that match up to myself? How am I doing? We need a yardstick to measure ourselves by from time to time.
And you don't even have to be as ambitious as, say, what would a really magnificently exemplary figure like Jesus or Buddha or Socrates would do. You can just think about the average person. Even like when I was in basic training, for example, when things seemed hard, I would say to myself, tens of thousands of people have been through the same thing and they got through it okay. And am I extraordinarily lazy or extraordinarily fearful? I'd be like, no, I'm not. Therefore, I'll be able to put up with this and get through to the other side. And I found that helpful.
Yeah, excellent advice. Yeah, I think of temperance, this idea of a form of self-control. It's a habit, for one. Wouldn't you agree, Dan?
Yes.
It's a muscle. Yeah, you can build it up, I'm sure, and there will be times when it's more difficult than other times.
And habits are things you have to do. It's not something you just think about. You have to actually
Yeah,
apply it in the world.
yeah, absolutely, and it will build on itself like a snowball rolling downhill. If you apply it more and more often, it'll become what you expect of yourself. And it's like I said, it's the governor of your actions, and it keeps you. For example, it helps to control, let's say, the other virtues like wisdom. Wisdom, if applied incorrectly, can become cleverness that can get you in trouble if misapplied. For example, bravery can become
Well,
rashness.
wisdom can't get you in trouble, but intelligence can.
Right. But temperance,
you can be a very smart fellow and not do the right thing. But if you're wise, you're always going to do the right thing.
temperance is the governor that helps you to see how to utilize all these other virtues in the right way. I mean, wisdom as well.
Yeah, we discussed them under the four cardinal virtues, but they are all interrelated and mutually supportive.
Right. They're like an arch. You can't pull one block out and have the arch remain. They're all kind of the same thing, really. So they often bleed into one another. Like temperance helps you to use wisdom correctly, and wisdom helps you to see how to be temperate, etc. They all kind of interlock, but they do mutually support one another. How have you been temperate today, Dan?
Well, today I was successful in not eating bad things and normal day-to-day type temperance stuff,
Exactly.
nothing
Yeah.
extraordinary.
Yeah. I got up, tried to go to work. I didn't scream too much when I found out that work had been canceled, and I drove all that way for no real good reason.
You didn't throw your hat on the ground?
I did not throw my hat on the ground. I only had 2 slices of the evening pizza my wife made. She decided to make pizza tonight, and I could have gorged a little heavier, but I stopped myself. So, trying just little things today, little things for me as well.
Well, since we're talking about food, I just want to bring it back to Musonius Rufus here for a second.
Yeah.
Temperance was often cited as the beginning point for the development of virtue, and that's because the world presents us with so many opportunities to indulge in excess. For example, every meal is an opportunity to either practice temperance or indulge, and most of us eat at least 2 or 3 times a day, so that adds up to a lot of opportunity to cultivate or corrupt our temperance. Eat in order to live, not in order to have pleasure. If, at all events, we wish to keep in line with the wise words of Socrates, who said that the majority of men live to eat, but that he ate in order to live. No reasonable being whose ambition is to be a man will think it desirable to be like the majority who live to eat, and like them to spend his life in the chase after pleasure derived from food. Musonius Rufus, Lecture 18b. Musonius Rufus taught that the best food is affordable, easily obtained, easily prepared, and simple. In all fairness, he did take things to an extreme in my humble opinion, because in his view, food should be consumed only for nourishment and not for pleasure of any sort. And I believe he even took it down to the point where spices, even salt and pepper, were forbidden.
Vinegar was one I remember reading about by him or one of the other Stoics. Oh, they put vinegar on the food, as I'm putting sriracha on my
How
food.
extravagant.
Like, ooh, I'm breaking the rules. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, that's too much. I'm in agreement that food should be affordable, easily obtained, and prepared, but I'm not going to give up my spices like salt, pepper, garlic, ginger, oregano, and so forth. Give me my vinegar.
That's right. Absolutely. Yeah. It's once again, it's about not overindulging, and it's about you could do a kind of self training by occasionally having a day or two of much simpler meals to show yourself that you can do it. Kind of the winter training.
One goal of pursuing virtue would be to try and achieve a state of happiness and also freedom. In a fragment attributed to Epictetus, he said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Some folks believe that freedom is found in simply doing what they want. However, that is only true as long as what they want is to embody the cardinal virtue of temperance. Freedom is not found in fulfilling your every whim at any given moment. That is not freedom, but rather the life of someone who is a slave to their desires. Freedom is found in reducing our desires for externals and putting a proper value on them. We already discussed the pursuit of food for pleasure earlier, but it is not confined to food. We need clothing, but it doesn't have to be a fancy designer label. We need shelter, but it doesn't have to be a palatial mansion. If you can inspire interest in someone you find attractive, wonderful, but don't behave inappropriately pursuing them. And if you are in a committed relationship, particularly marriage, it is wise to learn to curb your desire for other people. One way that temperance and the discipline of desire ensures freedom is that limiting your desire for externals minimizes the chances that someone else might be able to manipulate you into doing something morally corruptive to attain the external. Do X and I will grant you Y. Do X or I will inflict Z on you. That's all well and good as long as the act they are trying to inspire you to do is not corruptive of your moral character. The danger is that the person who has control of what you desire or fear might ask you to do something inappropriate. One need look no further than today's news to see examples of the potential to receive morally corruptive orders from above. For good or ill, we live in a time where there are many opportunities to demonstrate our progress toward temperance, justice, and courage. Most often, when we see someone ordered to carry out morally corrupt orders, they do so, and sometimes with enthusiasm. That is disappointing. But sometimes, just sometimes, people given orders to commit morally corrupt acts refuse, and they bear the consequences. They lose their jobs and positions. Sometimes great power is brought against them. The people who bear this weight are the purple thread in the tunic, the admirable examples that show the rest of us how to act appropriately. They have the sense of justice to know when they are in danger of corrupting their character if they carry out a morally corrupt order. They have the temperance to realize that externals are indifferent and they do not outweigh the importance of virtue. And they have the courage to bear the threat of consequences for refusing to cooperate in corruption. It is inspiring to see such heroism. A man's master is he who is able to confer or remove whatever that man seeks or shuns. Whoever then would be free, let him wish nothing and decline nothing which depends on others. Else he must necessarily be a slave. Epictetus and Enchiridion 14. What's your take on that, Steve?
Well, Epictetus basically starts out in like the Enchiridion with temperance. It's sort of the dichotomy of control is partially tied into this as well. He steps right in with curb your desires as one of his early directions as to what to do to start being a Stoic. Start trying to desire only things that are up to you and try to be averse only to things that are up to you. Because if you are averse to things that other people control or you desire things that other people control, then you can easily become a puppet and as he would call it, a slave, right?
Right, and you can be forced, or not forced, but you will choose to corrupt your own character in order to gain something or to avoid something.
Exactly, and you'll become a follower of that person, a puppet to that person, or obey what that person wants you to do in order to obtain the thing you're trying to get. And if you're not careful and not watching those desires and trimming off those desires that are unbecoming, you may find yourself traveling down the wrong path. And it's easy to do.
Is there anything else you want to say about temperance before we wrap things up?
Well, it's a tough one. I struggle with it all the time. I can see my waistline expanding when it shouldn't. I sit around when I should be doing something. Uh, so yet I would say one thing you can do is think about what your values are and maybe list them out. Uh, of course, there are two ways to do this. You can say, if someone was watching me, what would they say my values are based on what I do? And what are the values that the ideal me would have, or that I wish I had, or I wish I was expressing? And maybe start pushing in that direction. And then when you are sitting around, not, watching TV, you can say, wait a minute, I wanted to be a person who reads books, or I wanted to be a person who spent an extra hour with my wife or child. And you can start pushing in that direction, getting yourself up off the couch, doing those things. And of course, you can always then at the end of the day do what Seneca and Epictetus recommended and do a self-reflection and say, where did I succeed today? Where did I fail? What can I do tomorrow? And start working on that muscle of temperance and basic self-control, and work on growing that muscle and living your values more deliberately.
Thank you for listening. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, please send us an email at sundaystoic@gmail.com. If you enjoy our podcast, please subscribe and leave us a review on whatever platform you use to listen to us. Your feedback helps us to reach new audience members and build the podcast. We look forward to releasing a new episode next week, fate permitting. And as Steve always says, Carpe Diem!